Hey guys, welcome to Sopi Mix Studio Umbiamas, conectando Aruba com o mundo via vídeo podcasting. Conectar conosco, compartilhar ideias e histórias para nos inspirar e para nos abrir. Sopi Mix Studio é a plataforma de podcast na Aruba. Follow-nos no Facebook, subscribe no YouTube ou na plataforma de podcast preferida. Escute o podcast preferido que hora e onde que está. Sopi Mix Studio, powered by Credits, botiu ideia? Credits educava e prepara abo para vir um empresário exitoso. De business plan, guia personal e préstamo para negócio até com 100,000 forinhos. Vira para mês donho com Credits. Sopway, passa na Sopway para o sop, salada, wrap ou flatbread e mais fresco. Com 7 localidades rond Aruba, nós está cerca de Ibo. Sopway. Swing Masters, organizando events, conferences of weddings, mister de luz, sound, staging, DJ, trussing ou flat screen, Swing Masters está claro para ser boa fiesta éxito. Swing Masters. E agora, Sopi Mix Studio é plataforma de podcast de Aruba, está apresentar.
Sincerely Carolina is powered by Lindy Boutique, Proframe, Aveeno, Gelatissimo, Paper Sisters, and Purina.
Hi, welcome to Sincerely Carolina. Happy Monday. I hope your weekend was nice and that you got your Christmas shopping in, because Christmas is Friday or Saturday. But I mean, everything closes on Friday. And I hope you're not like a last minute person. But yes, anyways, just letting you know, do your shopping on time, okay? It will save you so much stress. Welcome. So today is going to be in English before y'all ask, okay? I have English speaking guests, and of course, as you know, we choose whatever language our guests feel most comfortable in. But before I continue, I want to say thank you to my very awesome sponsors who have supported me all year. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, of course, we have Lindy Boutique. Thank you, Lindy, for being an awesome friend and an awesome sponsor. Remember that you can win prizes if you tell me what you have learned during these last 30 episodes. And you can win like an awesome prize from Lindy, but also from Paper Sisters and from Purina. So for your cute, very cute pets, okay? So let me know. I want to see pet pictures. You send me pet pictures, you get to win pet stuff, okay? Yes. Proframe, thank you so much. They are already closed for the year. They had an awesome year. They were awesome sponsors. Thank you. Also to Aveeno. We also have some fun prizes left from Aveeno and also the end of year. Who else do I have? Gelatissimo. Gelatos. They have like Christmas flavors. And they'll have Santa. Sometime this week. I can't remember when, but they'll have Santa. Yes. And also, I don't know what Jeff is saying. Jeff, what are you saying? Paper Sisters. I already said Paper Sisters. I said they have fun prices. I said Paper Sisters. Thank you, Jeff. But yes, I already said Paper Sisters. But thank you. And also, of course, thank you to Sopi Mix Studio and Sopi Mix Studio sponsors. So we have credits, we have Subway and Swing Masters, which make our studio look so cute and nice. Thank you for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So, we have guests. So without further ado, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So interesting conversation. But before we go into the conversation, can you please introduce yourself, Veer, and then we'll go over to Mom.
Yeah, my name is Veer. I actually grew up in Aruba, but I left when I was about 13. So now I just come back for vacation and stuff. But yeah, I'm super excited to be here, talk about my story. I identify as transgender. I'm 24 years old. So yeah, I feel like you don't meet many trans people on Aruba, so.
No. Or not that are willing to openly talk about it. Right?
Yeah.
So yes. So Mom.
Yes, I'm Reyana Alwani. I'm a proud mom of 3 kids, and I'm a health coach on Aruba.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's where I spend most of my day.
Okay. That's very interesting. Okay, so we are going to talk about becoming Veer. Right? I mean, if you have Instagram and you follow me, you may have seen me sharing some stuff. So, Veer, when was it that you started with this like social media campaign? I don't know if I should call it a campaign or like a challenge or journey.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think of it more as a journey, I think.
Okay.
So I started with it a few months ago, actually. It was because I think a lot of people started reaching out to me about my story, like asking questions or even just saying like, I've never met a trans person before, and hearing about your story inspires me. It's like opened my mind to new perspectives. And so I wanted to be able to share that with more people. And so I thought starting a page like this would be really cool. Plus, when I started my journey, like, there's a lot of information on the internet, but it can be very confusing. There's a lot of different stuff, it's very hard to navigate. And when I was doing my research initially, when I wanted to begin my transition process, or even when I was first figuring out that I was trans, I just found it kind of overwhelming. And I wish that I had had a page like this where everything was just in one place. Any question I had, I could just go and like find it right there. And that's basically my intention with the page.
Yes. And I mean, it's really full of information. And what I also like about it is how you talk about general information, but also like your personal experiences, also cultural experiences, which I'm really excited to talk about because culture plays a huge role as to how we react, right? And how we perceive others and what we accept or don't accept. So I'm really excited to have somebody from your family be here as well so we can talk about that. And I don't know who's tuned in, but if there are parents tuned in, I hope that you get to listen to today and then hopefully get inspired on being a little bit more understanding from what I got so far. But yes, so let's start with, I guess, the basic question. So when did you decide to go on this journey? I mean, you're 24 now, but when did you decide like, okay, this is like for sure how I feel and I'm gonna start, and not just like the, I guess, cosmetic aspects, but really going, you know, further in and making those life-changing decisions for the better for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I can start right from the beginning. So I mean, this journey has been literally since I was a kid. Like, I remember having my first crush at like 3 years old, and like I didn't know it was a crush at that time. But I liked girls. I still like girls, but I had a crush. I had a crush on someone in kindergarten, and I just thought I like really wanted to be her best friend. And I couldn't understand like what my feelings were, or I mean, people would describe crushes, and I was like, this kind of feels like what I have, but. I wasn't sure. And then when I got to 6th grade, someone explained to me what a lesbian was. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's maybe what I am. So,
that's around the time when those words are explained.
Exactly. Yeah. So I finally was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm a lesbian. But it was very difficult for me to accept that because I'd actually never met anyone who was gay or queer or anything.
Okay.
I wasn't exposed to that on social media. I mean, social media wasn't even really a thing at that point. I wasn't exposed to it on TV. Like, it wasn't talked about in my family. I knew no one who was queer. So for me to learn that I was going to be different was very difficult for me to accept personally, and actually struggled with that. Like, I struggled with depression for many, many years before I finally came to terms with the fact that I like women, and this is not going to change, and I have to accept it for myself. Like, if I want to live as a happy person, if I want to be myself in this world. And then I came out to my parents and friends and everything later in high school in like 10th grade. And that was tough as well at first, mostly because I was very insecure myself. And I didn't have the right words to explain it or to come out to people in the right way. So I think people kind of sensed my hesitancy, and then they weren't sure about it. And everyone was kind of learning together. Like, I still didn't know what it meant for me. My family and friends didn't know what it meant that much either, because similarly, they hadn't met that many queer people yet in their life either. And then I got to college. I had a girlfriend. Like, I started to feel more comfortable in myself. And then, but I still kind of felt that something was off. I still didn't feel like I was fully female. I still felt that I felt different in some ways. And I finally learned what it meant to be non-binary. And I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense, because I express myself in a very masculine way. I like wearing like button downs and ties and suits, and like I like being seen as a more masculine person. So I was like, maybe I'm non-binary. Maybe I identify as both male and female. So I started asking people. I started going by the name Wani, as I thought that was genderless. It's like a play on my last name. My last name is Alwani, so I was like, everybody just call me Wani. I started using they them pronouns. And I did that for a couple months, and then I was like, you know what, honestly, this doesn't feel right either. There's something still off. I'm still not 100% myself. And then the summer before my last year in college, I went to work in New York for an advertising company, and I met someone there who was on testosterone and was in the process of their transition. And I got to like ask them a lot of questions about that and understand what it really meant to be transgender and to go through a transition. And it like just the first conversation with them, I immediately got excited. I was like, this is amazing. Like you can take this hormone and I can be more of a guy. Like I can grow facial hair, my voice will drop. Like it seemed like such an exciting concept for me. So I did some more research, and eventually I came out to my parents as well. And I was like, look, I think I'm transgender. I think this is something I want to do. I think I was always meant to be a guy. It just took me a long time to figure it out. And so, yeah, then for the next year and a half or so, I started meeting with a therapist. I talked about my feelings, some of my struggles, what I was nervous about when it came to the transition, because it's a big decision, like,
of course,
to do something like that.
And it took you a while too, because I mean,
it took me a long time.
I think that's important how you explain that, because we have had another trans person on the show who had a much shorter transition period, in the sense that from a very young age, right? And I mean, there's no right or wrong way of going about it. And I think it's important for people to know that for some people, it's a very, like, that's the first thing they realize, right? They're in a body that they don't feel comfortable with. And that comes first before, like, you know, who you are attracted to. And then for other people, it's that journey. Whole process first, right? Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know that it's okay, that no matter where your journey starts and how long it takes, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm still on my journey. Like, I'm still learning stuff about myself. I'm still understanding what it means to be trans, how to navigate different social settings. So I think everyone's on their own journey.
Yep.
And at their own pace.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So when did you, I mean, you know, he just mentioned a bunch of points, right?
Yes.
When he like came to you, or you know, to his family, parents, friends, how was it for you? And when did you know before he even told you, or was it something that like every time, like, okay, let it sink in? How was it?
So I really had no vocabulary for the transgender world. I think I lived in a bubble that I didn't have this understanding. And you know, you never think it's, even if you see it on TV or you meet someone on the street, you can't see it in your own child sometimes. I always knew that Veer, I put it down to him being a tomboy.
Okay.
That's how I kind of rationale. I have 2 other daughters who love pink and dress up and wear lots of makeup. And then I had Veer, who likes his shorts and played with dinosaurs. And I was okay with that. It just made him Veer. But I think when he first told us, I didn't behave in a way that I'm proud of today. I was really shocked. I think I was a young mom and I didn't know what to do with this. And I think you have a lot of expectations of your child, which you need to process. We make up all these fabricated ideas that my daughter's going to do this and then my daughter's going to do that, and we attach ourselves to that. So I think I'm also still going in through a process of forgiving myself for behaving the way I did initially and not supporting him. But he's ever sweet, ever beautiful, and he forgives me, so that helps. But yeah, I think
that's very interesting, because you know that you're able to look back and realize that, okay, maybe that was not the right way. And I think what you just said, because we live in a bubble, and especially in certain cultures where, right, expectations are even higher. So like gender expectations. As soon as like somebody finds out that they're pregnant, and you know they really want to know the gender, because as soon as they know, there's like a whole life story attached to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really hard because it's conditioned. It's learned behavior, and we have to break that. And
because we don't know enough people, that's why it's so important to do this, to talk. Because every place, every hurdle Veer jumped was because somebody was open enough to share their story, and that's what made it easier on him. So we weren't living in this place where we were hearing enough. So I think that's why I reacted, because we
Who do you
fear
even go to?
judgment. We fear judgment.
Of course.
What will my friends say? How will I explain it to my mom? Like, what will the family think?
Wow.
All those fears block us, when actually that's really the last thing we should really concern ourselves with.
But it's also a culture where our culture here in the Caribbean, but also your culture
Very similar.
as Hindu. Yes, you are not individualistic at all. And that is something that
It's very community and family focused.
yes. So anything, that happens to one person affects everybody.
Yeah.
The good things and the bad things and everything in between. And that is something that I think is also important for us to understand. The patience required sometimes to explain things and to talk about things, whatever it may be. Anything from choosing not to go to whatever school the family was rooting for, right?
Yes.
These are all things that, props to you too, to having that courage to, or finding, I should say, the courage to talk about these things, because that awareness that as soon as you speak something out, it's not like it's going to stay with that one person, it's gonna go to the whole family, and you're gonna have to process it.
And that was a part of it, is that I felt like a lot of my story was getting, I don't want to say distorted, but people were sometimes getting the wrong information because it was being passed to so many people. And that's a very good thing, because I'm glad that people were talking about it and getting that awareness. But it was also making me realize that, okay, I need to tell it needs to come from me, and everyone needs to understand it from my perspective, which is another reason why I started the page. I was like, if people hear it from me and they know exactly, they can come to me for questions, and I'm open to talking about this. Because I mean, people have asked me before, they're like, how do you have the patience to ask? I get DMs every day. People are asking me stuff, and they're like, how do you have the patience to answer all these questions? And sometimes they're not asked in the best way because people don't have the language, or they're saying things wrong, or sometimes they have a very different perspective, and sometimes I get DMs that I really have to sit down and think and be like, okay, how do I respond to this person in a respectful way, and not force them to see my perspective, but show them that there is another side. And I think the reason why I do this, and why I keep doing this and have the patience and willingness to do this, is because I think, fortunately, I'm super blessed to be born in a situation where I have access to resources. I can afford my surgeries and my hormones and all this stuff, and I have social media where I can share. I have a platform where I can share my voice. So I almost feel like if I don't do it, who will? I feel like it's kind of on me to help share my story and bring that awareness to people, because I have that opportunity.
Yes. And I mean, I think that, for whomever is listening, you're of course not obligated to talk about your stories, but like Veer was saying, it is so appreciated, because we understand that it's scary, but once it's out there, there's room to grow and room to learn and to process, right? So you decided you're gonna go all in, and somebody talked to you about hormone therapy, and then you started speaking to health professionals.
Yeah, so it was,
And mom's a health professional, or a health coach as well, right?
Yeah.
So
So
I can imagine
this
these
was a big
conversations.
This was a big battle for me, because
Yes, I'm a health administrator as well. So, I see things from a lot of perspectives as well sometimes. So I do want to hear, how was this conversation, and when do you decide okay, now is it, and I'm going to go
Yeah, so we had to come to a compromise, because
Okay.
Because I was just worried what the injections that he takes on a weekly basis would do to his liver, to his body.
My heart.
Heart, yes, there's a lot we have to monitor. We do annual checks all the time to make sure that Veer's health stays on top. And I think we do that because I know that we need to do that. So that's something I want to put out there, that if they're going to take any medications or hormones, they need to monitor it. It's not like you just take them and forget about them.
And do it in a controlled environment,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Because
that more is not always better. Our doctors were very clear with us that if a dosage is working, just stay there. We don't have to do more.
Keep increasing,
Because the body rejects more anyway at a certain point. It will just eject it out of your body. So you don't have to go there and give the liver so much work to do. So finding that balance also took Veer some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was it? it is a huge change for your body. Your body
Yeah.
is going into complete shock. And I think, I mean, we don't talk about that. Like,
It was like a puberty
It's
again.
puberty
Yes.
round
It
two,
was
yeah.
puberty round
okay.
two.
So I
But
want to,
this was a puberty
I
he
feel
was
like,
happy about.
okay.
No, 'cause the-
Because you're looking forward to
Exactly,
like the end
first
goal,
time-
right?
The first time I did not like what was happening to my body. Like, I mean, before puberty, up until that point, like, I hung out with the guys. Like, I could still wear whatever I wanted. No one was really, like, it wasn't, like, when you're in elementary school, it's not super gendered. You can kind of do whatever, play with whatever. Like, you know, I'd be in recess, I'd be, like, playing soccer, sweating, and come into the classroom, and no one would care.
Yep.
Then after that, once
You
you
get
kinda
into
hit puberty,
high school.
exactly,
Yep.
people start teasing you if you hang out with guys. Like, it gets very complicated. So yeah, I did not enjoy puberty at all the first
The
time.
first puberty.
The first time. And then
So how was the second one? I
second
mean,
time, it was still hard. Like, I mean, there was still a lot of emotions that I wasn't ready for it. I felt
okay.
like actually I don't know if I think this has a lot to do with testosterone, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt I was a little more impatient. I was a little more aggressive, like quick to anger. I couldn't cry for like a year.
Okay.
It was very different for me because
Uh-huh.
I am a more emotional person, and so to suddenly not be able to to have all these different feelings was very weird for me. But I think also going through that second puberty when I was older, I was able to better like control my feelings, understand what I was going through. Like, and I had done research before. I'd watched YouTube videos. Like, I kind of knew what to expect. So I was like, okay, this is gonna happen. I'm ready for this. Like, I'm gonna and I luckily I had like my family, my friends, everyone in my close circle knew what I was about to do. So before that, we were all kind of prepared. I was like, look, this might happen. I might react in this way. Like, please bear with me. And I was also meeting with a therapist at this time, like every week, who helped me talk about my feelings, what I was kind of going through. That helped as well.
Okay. And how was that
Yeah,
for you?
It was very odd for me. Suddenly, he was smelling like smelly boy. It was a whole change, but it was fun. And I think he's right, because he was older and puberty, sometimes kids don't want to change, right? It's like things are happening in their body and they don't want it. But in his case, we embraced it. It was a gift to us. It was a whole different feeling.
Okay.
Nice.
That's very interesting perspective, right? I mean, I don't think a lot of moms would like for their children to go to a second puberty, let alone like smelly boy second puberty, right? But it's interesting that you were able to like look at it from a very positive perspective and
We
just
had to, because by then we owned it, right?
Yes.
You only go through that when you're ready to own it. And we said, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it like a team.
Yes.
We don't.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, we don't want our child doing this alone. He didn't do it alone on his first puberty, so
right?
right. So
And that's good.
That's our role as a parent.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
to like you were talking about the health issues, but I think more than the health issues, it's one step further. It's the mental health issues.
Of course.
I didn't ever want my child to be a statistic. You know, I wanted him to be happy. I wanted him to own his life, because otherwise he would never accomplish all the things he's come here to do. And if he's living to be a fake person or something he's not, then how would he gain that?
I love how you put that, and I'm probably gonna ask our marketing person to make that into a soundbite, because I think that was perfect. That was a perfect way of explaining that. Thank you so much for that. So you started changing physically, right? And I mean, you just said you had good communication with like the people around you. Was it odd were you at some point where you felt like, I don't know how to feel about myself? Like, what was it like just waking up and being like, okay, so today is this, and then in a week it's this?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm very curious because I don't think we talk about those details as much, right? And those are the scary things that people hold for themselves as
for
well.
me, the appetite. Oh
Really?
my God, he started
Really?
eating so much.
Okay.
more. So that was, I think,
Yeah, I ate a
big,
lot.
like a growth spurt, right? So that was big. My fridge was always empty.
But those are things that I feel like, we should talk about, that it's not just like scary, but it's also
it's just
funny
funny
and
changes.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I will say before I started testosterone, I was very indecisive about it. Like, I didn't know if this was something I should do, because a lot of the changes you experience when you are on testosterone, like for example, the voice drop, they're irreversible. Like, once it happens, that's it. You can't go back from that.
Okay.
So I was really nervous to start, because I was like, I feel like I'm transgender. I feel like this is the right thing for me to do. I feel like I want this, but I'm not sure. And I was also nervous. I was like, what if I don't transition completely? Like, what if I don't look the way I want to look, or like I don't have the right changes that I want to have, or like what if I get really bad acne or like gain weight? I wasn't sure like how my body would react to the testosterone. But
did you choose hormone therapy before surgery, or was it?
I chose to, so my doctors recommended, especially for top surgery, that if you have your hormone therapy, like if you are taking testosterone at least like 6-9 months before that, your chest muscles have time to develop. In a way that actually helps the surgery results come out better. So I was like, okay, that works fine. I was on testosterone, and then I had surgery. But once I was indecisive, I was nervous, I was scared. Once I started testosterone, though, I was fine. Like once I started seeing the changes, once I was able, because before I would never even look in the mirror. Like, I didn't want to see myself with clothes off, nothing. Like, but once I started all those changes, my body started changing, like my voice started changing. I would hate listening to my own voice. And then like when it started dropping, I would just keep replaying it was exciting for me. Like it's everything that I was waiting for was finally happening.
That is so nice. I mean, and it's very interesting because that, and I really wanted to ask that too, because from, an outside perspective, people might feel like, especially top surgery, people might think like, okay, you can do it and then you can kind of like fix it if you want to. First of all, people, please don't do that. Okay. I know that we have been obsessed with media changes, but your body should not go under anesthesia too many times. Okay. But, I think it's important for people to understand that it's not a light decision. And it's not like you go to a plastic surgeon, and decide that you are just one day gonna.
Yeah, it was not.
Yes,
an easy decision.
It's not an easy surgery. It's
No,
very painful.
And I mean, mine actually. My surgeon was amazing. He did an incredible job, but my body just didn't react well, and I actually ended up having to have 2 surgeries.
Oh, wow.
So it was a lot.
Yes, and I think it's important for people to understand that. One, because we have as a society decided that, and thanks of course to modern medicine. I love modern medicine, please do not get me wrong, but we think that some things are very easy and that you should take lightly, and we do a lot of cosmetic surgery without much thought nowadays. But this is much more than that. I mean, you had to go through a much longer process. So you had to be like, sure. Yeah. And I think that's very important for people to hear as well.
Yeah, and I mean, even, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and even if like Veer was on a gaining muscle protocol, like
I was working out a lot before the surgery.
So after the surgery, he had to wait like 3-4 months before he could get back to that. And for someone who likes to work out and likes to move, because he's a mover, being patient, and that too during COVID when there was not much to do
anyway. Yes, so you're like extra bored.
He took away the one nice thing he likes to do, and then he had to do a round 2 surgery. Then he was back in bed again. So it was challenging. Surgery, anytime you, like you said, anytime you go under, it really plays up on your body,
of course,
your gut health, and
of course. And I think it's important for people to know that as well. That these are not decisions that people take lightly, especially because you're trying to reach that image of who you really feel you are, right?
I mean, that's why I did everything in baby steps almost. Like,
Good.
First I changed the way I dressed. Then I was like, okay, everybody, this is my new name. Then I cut my hair. Like, I really did everything slowly by slowly. Even with the top surgery, I was like, okay, maybe I don't need top surgery, because I didn't want to go under surgery either. Like, this is not something that I wanted. It's something that I needed. But I was like, okay, let me try to put the surgery off. And I actually ended up buying a binder, which is basically like a vest that you wear that flattens your chest. so it doesn't look like you have a breast or anything. So I was trying to wear a binder for a while, but like I would wear it for like the whole day, so like 12 hours at a time. And I was a dancer in college, so I had to wear that to dance practice, and then it would get sweaty, and like I was getting acne on my chest, and then I was like getting bruises on my ribs. Like it was just too much.
You
Like
had to go for chiropractic.
yeah, my shoulders are still messed up because I was like. Yeah, so eventually I was like, I can't live with a binder forever. I have to get top surgery. This is ridiculous. So yeah.
Yes, but it's a process, and yes, I mean, nowadays, and I hear this a lot, right? Because I am this open person, and I always like to talk about topics that some people do not feel comfortable talking about, and then I often hear parents, right? They feel that some way, somehow, you can influence somebody in becoming queer, or right? And I have heard this. People have told me that, maybe you're promoting it too much, and I'm like, what?
So
what?
I want to speak to this because
yes,
I believed that for myself because I didn't know what queer people were at all, right? Like, I didn't even know what trans people were until college, and every time I came out, it was because I found out about a queer person. Like, okay, someone told me what a lesbian was, I was like, oh, then I understood what non-binary was, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I was like, maybe I'm like influencing myself. Maybe I'm just meeting these people, and I'm like somehow getting like attracted to this idea, and then I'm doing it. So I was nervous.
It's not true.
Of course, definitely not true. But
I know.
It's just because I had no exposure and had no words for it that I was like, only when I learned what it was could I put that label on myself and make those changes and understand. But yeah, I mean, it's such an idea in society that I was even nervous about it, even though I was having those feelings for real. Like it's crazy.
But it's like what you said, because if you're not exposed to it,
exactly,
of course you're not gonna be able to identify with something, right? If you don't know what it is. I mean,
it's not an old phenomenon. Like even parents, if their kids do something naughty, the first thing they think is it's the friend's fault, right? Like they never blame their child.
No,
they say, it's that friend you're keeping company with. So this is actually not just for
of course.
awareness of parents do that all the time. It's always because somebody else put it on their kid. It couldn't possibly be their kid.
Yes. And I mean, of course there are things that you could consider that are bad influences. Of course, I mean that kid that peer pressures another kid into drinking at a very young age. Yes, but
it's not always.
You can't peer pressure somebody into feeling something, right? And I think that's very important for parents to understand that the sooner you talk about things, the sooner your children are exposed to the real world. And by the real world, I mean everybody, not just like your cookie cutter version of, neurotypical, regular, general, normal people. No, the sooner they will realize that, one, the world is very diverse and beautiful, and two, that maybe they do not fit into that box that parents thought that they should fit in. Did you struggle with this? Were you like afraid that Veer was maybe like getting exposed to too much? And
I think initially I did have this belief, but then I was very clear also, because I'm the mother of more than one child, that my other children are exposed to
basically the same,
and they're not saying they're trans. There's something here.
Yep.
So I think initially I did lean towards it, but not for very long.
Okay, and that's good. I mean, that's good. So, so you were saying about, the beginning was not as pretty, but now I hear you speak and it's very beautiful, right? I mean, and we cannot go back in time and change things. And I wouldn't ask you, if you could go back, would you change something? Because I feel like, then we go into a loop. But what is something that you really learned that you feel today makes you, as a family, as a person, like more happier or calmer? What is something that you would want to share maybe with other parents that has given you both like this very beautiful connection?
So I think the main thing is that watching Veer's journey, like I think all of us have something that we hide from other people.
Of course.
In Veer's case, it was his gender for a long time, even hidden to himself in some cases. But for us, it could be a quality or our opinion or something. And then we walk around living in this world, hiding our true self. I mean, I know friends who don't want to vaccinate, maybe. That's a big one, right? But they don't say it out loud because they're scared of being judged. So there's always judgment wherever you go. But I think the biggest thing our family learned from Veer was how he really had to, it was courageous to come up and say, this is who I am. You gotta love me this way because this is the real me. And I think we've learned now that we need to stop judging. We catch each other all the time. You know, I mean, of course, we're human. We're always judging.
Of course, yes.
24/7 in our head. Even
Oh
if
my
we're
gosh,
not.
yes.
But
When I'm driving, when I wake up, every time. Yes, yes.
But I think this whole idea that, you know, we should be able to speak our truth. We should be able to be clear. And there's more love in that because
Right.
Veer has become a much more happier, gentler, more beautiful person to be with. Not that he wasn't before, but he's more free. He laughs louder. When he cracks up, he cracks up. You know? There's this genuine happiness. And this is the biggest gift. I wouldn't want to have been the parent who suppressed that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think a lot of parents are afraid, right? What's on the other side of just allowing them to be and then, you know, reaching that point. I think it's for everyone. It's scary, right? It's scary, one, for us to speak up, especially if we think something that we are holding is controversial or, you know, the other person might be opposed to. But then also into fully accepting someone, that's scary too, because that means that you don't get to hold it against them anymore, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, we have witnessed a lot of love.
that's nice.
We are fortunate that we haven't really come across too many people who have hated, who've hated. But for those we have, I mean, Veer's policy is always, we don't hate them back.
Okay.
Because if we hate them back, then we're not
Any better.
No
Yeah,
one's
exactly.
growing from that.
we're not learning, we're not teaching, we're not growing. So in our family, if somebody's a hater, then we just move on.
It is
Okay.
what it is.
Yeah,
So,
it's good for them.
Yes.
But I want to say something real quick again. What you were saying about the fear of just like having that change. I think one of the biggest fears in our family was that they might lose who I was, like lose.
Okay.
Like, yes, you're losing. Maybe my sisters were losing another sister. My parents were losing a daughter. Like, they didn't know how much I would change. But I think my mom can speak to this. Is that I only physically changed, honestly. Like, who I am at the core didn't change at all. In fact, I became more of myself because I was more comfortable on who I was on the outside. I was more comfortable with how other people were seeing me, how I was able to operate in daily life, that I was able to open up more as a person and actually allowed more people in.
Well, I think it's, again, you know, what your mom was saying at the beginning is that as soon as a baby is born or even before that, you just put them in this bubble where you think, whereas it's a person, you know, regardless of like those other details, it's a person. And, you know, I'm assuming like your taste in food didn't change, right? I mean, the things that interested you didn't change. And these are things that I think it's nice how you say it, that it's just you're only a more real version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So Veer, I read about your decision and how you came to the decision of choosing your name, and I think that was a really beautiful story.
Yeah.
So can you tell everyone, I mean, if they don't follow you and they didn't read it, I think that was, I mean, it's so nice that you have that opportunity, right, to go through that process. Like you went through puberty
has
again,
been a
but
process. Changing my name has been like a whole.
Really?
It's been tough.
Okay.
Legally.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So how did you get to the decision of this is gonna be my name,
Yeah.
and then going through the process legally, right? I mean, that's yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, so in our culture, we're Hindus. Many Hindus have what's called a naming ceremony, or like a chatti. And basically what that is when the baby's born. Maybe my mom can explain it a little better.
Yes,
You
please.
can go- No, when
Oh, okay,
we
okay.
look at the horoscope and we get an initial.
Okay.
And generally, if you name the child with that particular initial that you're given, it helps them grow better in life. It makes them
It's
more
good for your
prosperous.
destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I was born, the letter I got was V. And so I got what's called like a chatti name, which is my like religious name. So whenever we do prayers or whatever, that name is used. But then I got a different legal name. So my chatti name was Vibhuti, which started with a V, matched like my fate and my destiny, and then that was fine. So when I wanted to transition and pick a new name, I thought it made sense to pick a name that started with V also, since I was about to, start this journey that would lead to a better destiny and a better fate, and I was finally living as myself. So I knew I for sure wanted it to start with V. I wanted it to be an Indian name because my culture is very important to me. And I was like going through the list of names, and for some reason, Veer just kind of stuck with me. Like, it's easy to pronounce. I like the meaning. The meaning meant brave. So I was like, okay, this kind of works. And so then I called my mom, and I was going through names with a lot of people. I was like, hey, what do you think of this name? So I called my mom, and I was like, what do you think of Veer? And
when I was a teenager, as many girls do, you imagine your family, your children, how many you're going to have. And I had always wished that if I have a son, I would name him Veer. Oh. So it just so happened that is the name he chose.
So you never
mentioned it because I had a son.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is like a sign, if anything, if that was a sign that was supposed to be your name, I think
it was the sign. Yeah, so
that was it, right?
Like, okay, Veer it is.
Wow. And how did you feel? I mean, when you had that conversation, like
by that point, I was very excited about our journey. Okay. Because I could see already the baby steps. Like, I think before we changed his name, we went for the first haircut.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So we got a very short haircut, and he started shopping in the male department. So already we could see so much change in his outlook. By the way he was enjoying with us, or wanting to go out and wanting to meet people. It wasn't easy, really. The first time we took him out with male clothing to a community party,
okay,
it was huge for us because it was saying a statement without really saying anything. We weren't officially announcing it yet.
Yes.
So
at the same time, everyone can kind of see I have short hair all of a sudden. I'm dressing like a guy. Because normally I would still try to force myself to fit in, right? Like I didn't want to be that one person.
Like especially at like community events.
I would still wear a dress. I would put makeup on. I would straighten my hair. And like I hated every minute of it. But I was like, this is just what I have to do. I thought I didn't have another option. But then when I finally realized who I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is who I am. I'm going to go the way I feel comfortable. And if anyone has a problem with it, that's fine.
And the name was just fitting. So
on the one side, we had this really happy thing going on at home where we were renaming him and everything. And on the other hand, we had to go out and face the world with all that happiness. And it didn't feel so happy initially when we were facing the world, and we'd have to explain ourselves, and we debated, should we announce it on Facebook? How do we tell our friends? Like, how do you tell the world that your child is born again?
And how did you? I mean, now I want to know, right? What were decisions that you took?
Yeah, so I'm a strong proponent in social media. Like that's how I keep in touch with most of my friends. That's how I'm sharing my story right now. I think social media connects a lot of people. So I came out on my Instagram. I like made a post. I don't even know if it's still there anymore, but I made a post and I had a whole long caption. And of course, we had already told family and close friends before that, so they weren't blindsided by the post.
I chose not to. I chose not to go on social media. Okay. It just doesn't fit who I am.
Yes. And people are different. I mean, like my husband and I are two complete different people on social media. Like, I will be sharing every single bark of our pets, right? And he will only be sharing like the super beautiful pictures of them at the beach, and like, they look like perfect pets. And then I'll be sharing them being crazy. So I totally understand. And it's not even about like age or anything, but
it's just preference.
Yes. Yeah. So that's nice. But did you even have a conversation about it?
Yes. Luckily, we've been very open. We discuss everything because I think Veer is very clear that his choices impact all of us.
Of course.
We have to go out in the world and answer people too and explain ourselves. So he was very, very sweet to make sure that Dad, me, and the sisters were completely ready before he made any step.
It's not only that, though. It's like I knew this. I mean, this is a big thing, right? Like, I knew I couldn't do it alone. And like for me, I'm very close with my family. I'm very close with my sisters and my parents. If I didn't have them by my side every step of the way, I wouldn't feel right with what I was doing. So I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page with everything, that they were comfortable before I made any steps. And like, I guess in some situations it was a little frustrating because sometimes I wanted to move faster and I felt like, okay, the family's not ready yet. I have to take it a bit slow.
I think that's something important as
Yeah.
well in all situations in life, but especially in something like this. I think that patience has to come from both sides. As frustrating as it may be, I think it's important that if you want that support, you have to understand that it takes time, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it took you time.
That's
So
exactly it.
yes,
Yeah. Like it took, by the time I came out, I had already had years of like
Of
thinking about this and
processing,
researching it,
yes.
right. Which is why I told my mom, like, when I first came out to you, I do not at all take badly like her first impression. I think it was a very normal reaction that she had. Like I cannot expect her to have the same position as me in the first 5 seconds of her finding out when I've had years and years and years of like understanding who I am and feeling these feelings and doing the research. Like she needs her time. Everyone needs their time as well to get on the same page.
yes. So you posted that on social media.
Posted on social media and yeah, I got amazing feedback. Everyone
Okay.
was wonderful. And I told people when I posted.
Some people blocked you.
Some people blocked me. No, but I mean, like,
I mean, at least that.
sure. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
You know, I mean, I feel like I would
fine.
rather that
Yeah.
than people arguing with me.
but I told
You
people.
know?
No, but I like.
Okay.
I don't see it as arguing. I told people.
Yeah.
When I posted it, I was like, look, if you're not comfortable with this, you can unfollow me. It's fine.
It's fine.
That's okay. If you have questions, you can DM me. I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to talk about it. And I had people DM me, and I had people unfollow me, and it was good because some of the people who DM'd me ended up unfollowing me anyway because they still didn't agree.
Okay.
But like, I was willing to have those conversations with people because I think it's important. Like you need to have those conversations with
Of
people and
course.
help them just kind of get awareness. And I think it's important for them to understand my perspective because they might have never met or spoken to or even seen a trans person before. So,
Maybe Veer was their first trans person, and by the time they meet their second one, the experience of Veer would have opened them up.
For sure.
yeah.
Of
In a
course.
better way. So
Yes.
But I will say, being that person,
It's hard.
it feels like a lot of pressure sometimes.
Right?
Yeah, because I feel like I have to be because for a lot of people, I would say like majority of the people I know, I am the first or only trans person that they know. Especially because a lot of people are in the Indian community, and I feel like that's
Yeah.
gender identity and queerness and stuff is not really talked about in the brown community. So it almost feels like everyone is gonna kind of base their understanding of trans people off of me. So
Wow.
if I'm not patient, if I don't react the right way, if I don't explain it in the right way, then maybe their reaction to the next trans person is not going to be super positive because of the impression they have of me. So I have to be like very careful with the words I choose, with the way I behave in public, with the way I talk to people. But
Yeah, and I hope that you don't feel like, you know, you're walking on eggshells.
not at all.
And that, you know, it's your process, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's a very good perspective that indeed, and this counts for everything. You may be that first person that somebody else will meet in whatever way. So I guess that message that you're leaving us, we can all learn from that, regardless if, you know, some of us do not have to come out, right? But you may still be that first Hindu person they meet.
Yeah.
You may still be, right? And how we react to that person's finding out or realization, whatever you want to call it, will impact their
future reaction.
Yes, because that's how biases work. You know, that's how our brains are wired. And it's really great for things like, we know the stove is hot and we are not going to touch it again. But in other cases, it's rewiring constantly and relearning. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a very good perspective. And I think, you know, I hear you both speaking, and I can hear that you come from a family where you guys are very open. You know, you talk to each other, and there's a lot of communication, which I think is really great. So you also had the space to realize these things and to talk about these steps and these things, and I think that's really wonderful. And that's why as soon as I asked you, I really wanted to have somebody of your family on board, because we don't hear that enough, especially here. I mean, I feel like it's so important to know that it might take time, but there is a way where there is a will. And where's your focus really? Are you when you put it in a balance, I mean, I hope that your child's happiness is always gonna, weigh more than whatever fear that you may have from, your family, your extended family, or your circles. And I think that more parents should be, open about this as well and just talking, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you again, and thank you for asking her. Because yes, I mean, I hear you both speaking, and I am so in awe.
Just to speak on the health and happiness
Yes.
point, I think the final thing that made me at peace with the whole thing, I hope this would resonate with someone, is that when I first found out I was pregnant, I never thought gender. I always thought 10 fingers, 10 toes, beating heart, happy, healthy, crying baby. That's all I could imagine. When the baby first came out, I didn't say, is it a boy? Is it a girl? I said, is the child okay? Is the child healthy? Is everything fine? Those were my questions. So somewhere in those 20 years, how did I go from being that mom to not wanting my child to choose the gender? Like, how come gender became so important to me at that point? Because in the beginning it wasn't. And I think when most moms and dads, if you tell them you have a choice between gender and health,
Yes.
it's not even a question.
Yes, exactly. I mean, yeah. And how do we get there, right? And I have talked about this before, right? We it's society, and there's so much pressure and into who and what we're supposed to be. But I think that if we go back to those basics, like you said, right? I think that most parents, indeed, as soon as they find out that they are expecting, the first thing they think about is health, and then of course that they will have a happy child, and that we carry that, right, for as long as we live and they live.
Yes.
So yes. So I see a comment, and this is from my husband, who is also a health professional. So, of course, he's interested in this aspect. And he says, "Hi, Veer. I was wondering how the professionals chose your testosterone therapy. Is it proprietary? And if may, what kind of testosterone is part of your process?" I also want to know, like, how they reacted. But, just answer that first, and then I'll ask a follow-up question.
So there are actually a lot of ways to take testosterone.
Okay.
You can do, there's like a cream, there's patches, there's injections. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do. Of course, the injections are like the fastest. You have the fastest reaction to the injections, and they work the best. And so I wanted the thing that worked the best, so I wanted the injections. But before I could even get on testosterone, I had to do a lot of blood work. I had to talk to a therapist, make sure this was what I wanted, that I was in the right frame of mind.
Did you need, I was going to ask, like, did you need, I mean, and here in Aruba we have, because you did this in the US, right?
I did this in the US. Yeah.
Because here in Aruba, for example, you need a diagnosis from a psychiatrist before. Okay, was it like that as well?
It was the same thing. Yeah, so I needed that, and then I needed my blood test to be all clear and everything, show that my blood levels, everything was okay for me to
that your body
performing.
could handle the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they started me on a super low dose, and every like month I was going in for a checkup. I was talking to my doctor at the time. And then what they would do is I think they gradually increased me like 2-3 times until I got to my final dose, which is what I'm on now. And with the injections, I self-inject now, but the first time I went in for my injection, they sat me down with a nurse. She showed me how to do it, whatever. I did my first shot. And now every week I self-administer my own injections. I can order them again from the pharmacy when I need to. I still meet with so the first year I met with my doctor every 3 months and still was doing blood work and everything to make sure everything's okay. And now I just do it annually because I've been on testosterone for 2 years now.
Okay,
so
okay.
Everything's like fine. My body's reacting normally. There's not many more changes that are going to happen. Like all the changes kind of happen in the first year. And then after that it levels out and you're just normal.
Yeah. Okay. And, so I'm also interested in what was the health professional's reaction, or any professional really, I mean, that you may have encountered.
So I went specifically, I was nervous about that.
Okay.
So I specifically went to a center for queer and trans people.
Okay.
And I met with a doctor there and I spoke to them, and I wanted to do everything with people because, I was still nervous about it. I was still unsure. I didn't know how people would react to me. I'd had a few negative experiences, so I didn't want to deal with anything like that. So I was like, I'm going to go to a place where I know they're going to take good care of me and they're going to be accepting, and this is where I want to do it. And so that's what I did.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a very beautiful thing. I studied in the US and I lived there. And, having that choice, especially if you, like you said, right, if you have the resources, if you have good insurance, it's really nice because you get to pick who you go to, and you get to read all these reviews. Like, does this person's like ideals even match? Like, and, here in Aruba, that's very limited because, which is awesome. We do have social health insurance, and I repeat this, we are very privileged to have this because a lot of places don't have this. But that also means that, in some aspects, like our choices become less, and then, you kind of have to deal with it. So I'm really happy that you were able to have a process, one of your choice, and also that it was welcoming and positive, right? And I have heard from people like in the Netherlands where you also have like specific centers where you can go, and it's right. So if anything, I do hope, if there are any health professionals listening, that even if you didn't choose like, to specialize in this and you find yourself in that situation, to please be patient and, understand that maybe you too need help, right? In figuring it out and how you react, and that there are people willing to talk about this, because I think that once you're in a different field, you kind of forget that you're dealing with people. And then until you find yourself in a very particular situation, and then you're like, I don't know how to do this. And, so that we're not afraid to speak up, and you can follow Veer, and learn some stuff too, because I think that the human connection is also really important. So I'm happy you had a positive experience.
I was
indeed.
very lucky.
Yeah. And I hope that more people can have those positive experiences.
We had a positive experience in Aruba too.
I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, because when Veer had to move back here during COVID, he came to live with us again when the States was in bad shape. And he didn't have enough of the testosterone on him. And the island was locked down. We couldn't have access to more. So we had to approach our house doctor, who was absolutely wonderful about it.
I'm so happy to hear that.
So we actually have a very nice experience here.
And I'm happy to hear that. And yes, because I think we tend to be so afraid, right?
Yeah.
Were you afraid going to the Aruban house doctor?
For sure.
Yeah?
I was very nervous.
Did you go with him?
Well, we couldn't go. We had to do it through WhatsApp because it was
my gosh,
lockdown.
So you have to wait for the person to answer?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, okay.
So all my documents in Aruba at the time still said my old name. They still said female.
That's the hardest part, with the old name, and then the doctor refuses to call you the new name because your document says the old name, and it's just hard.
When you moved back, did you have to do like the whole process here too?
So I actually have dual citizenship. So I have a U.S. passport and a Dutch passport. U.S. passport was very easy to change. All I needed was I went to the court and I changed my name and everything. And once I had that and my doctor's letter, I was fine, and they changed my passport, no problem. The issue with the Netherlands is that you need to show proof on your birth certificate that your name and gender have been changed in order to change your Dutch passport. But I was born in St. Thomas, and St. Thomas has never changed anyone's gender ever. So they wouldn't do it for me because, there's no law that even exists. They didn't even know how to do it. So I actually recently just got back from Europe because I had to go all the way there and meet one of 7 doctors that could approve that I'm actually transgender and give me a letter that I can then give to the...
In the Netherlands for the Dutch passport?
I had to fly to the Netherlands so that I could change my Dutch passport. So now actually I just submitted the form today to get the new passport, to get the deed, to get the new passport.
Oh my
It's quite a
gosh.
process. We've been doing this for a year and a half.
I've been waiting for the appointment that I just had in the Netherlands. I was waiting maybe 6 months for that appointment.
But we're hopeful because we waited, but it's happening.
No, but it's done now, basically. It's gonna
But
happen.
It's...
We've learned patience.
Yeah.
I can imagine. And, I work in the government, so I understand bureaucracy. So I know that, these... Yeah, wow. Okay. Which is... So for a while, you just had 2 passports, saying that you are 2 complete different.
Yes, exactly. And it was very confusing. I had to travel with all my documents. Every time I came into Aruba, I would have to show my Dutch passport. And then everyone would be like, this is not you. And then I had to be like, no, that is me. And they were like... So and then I had to explain. I had to come out to everybody in the airport that I'm transgender.
Through the plastic counter.
Yeah, and in Aruba, you don't really want to be coming out to everyone in the
No.
airport when there's like
And there's a line. Yes, yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Wow. And how was that experience? I mean, I didn't even think about that. Of course, I didn't think about that. But
in some cases, it was fine. People were just like, oh, okay, whatever. You change your name, go through.
Okay.
And then in other cases, I almost missed my flight. Where was it? I can't even remember. I almost missed my flight somewhere because my ticket was booked under Veer, but I had to show. Yeah, it was in Philly. I had to show my Dutch passport because I was flying to Aruba, and they were like, "These don't match. Sorry, the ticket's in the wrong name." And I was like stuck at the counter trying to argue, being like, "I've never had this issue before. Like, look, I even pulled out my American passport. It was a whole thing.
Pulled out your court documents.
I had my documents. I had my doctor's letters. I had everything, and then I was like arguing with them, and they were like, "Sorry, we can't go on the plane. We can't check you in."
what did you do? Did you buy another ticket?
No. Actually, so
In the end, somehow it always works
it
out.
worked out,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Some
but it was
supervisor
just-
turns up and
And
it's
But
okay.
It's not something you want to deal with. You know, it kind of puts your day off that you have to.
Of course.
Come
missing
out
the
and-
flight isn't the hard part. The hard part is the process of explaining to
The
people.
hard part
Right?
is convincing people that no, this is me. Like, yeah.
And
Yes.
security pat downs when he didn't
Oh yeah,
look
before
like
security
Veer
pat
looks
downs were-
now. Who would approach him? The male guard or the female?
It was kind of funny because I would always go through TSA and both the
Wow.
male and female officer would both look at me and none of them knew what to do. 'Cause
So do you just walk up to one of them?
yeah, I would just go to the guy and I'd be like,
Like it's fine. Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you were so open to like share these stories because this is real life, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we focus a lot on like the very technical things and the very medical things but there are everyday things that happen too
Everyday
that you
things.
have to go through and experience and wow.
yeah.
Thank you so much for being so open and candid about this, like for real. All right, so as you know, I have kindness cards which I'm gonna share now. And I picked 4 because I wasn't sure which one. But I think this is for you, Mom, and it says you're making a difference. And I say this because you're here today, talking to me. I mean, you don't know me, and we're having like this very open conversation and sharing all these points, and I really, really appreciate that. Also because I hope and I'm sure that this will resonate with a lot of parents, and it takes a lot of courage as well to just stand up and right.
Yeah.
So
I
thank you
think
so much.
It's not courage, it's love.
It's love, which is above everything else,
Yes.
right? Yes.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
agree.
for this space.
Yes. So I'm gonna write your
Thank
name
you.
on it a little bit because I wasn't sure which one, so I didn't write anything. And then, so I had to, decide again. So for you, Veer, I have one that says, you're real happening in a far out way. I mean, keep doing what you do. I love it. Thank you for being so open and sharing,
Thank you.
everything, this journey. I love how you say, it's still becoming. You are still on a journey. You're sharing it with social media with us. You're here on this episode today, and I hope that you get to talk about it, with lots of people, and that people get excited when you talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. I mean,
yes.
This is incredible.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to write your names in a little bit. Thank you again. Is there anything that you want to leave us with, both of you, before we close?
Yeah, I'll say something. So the process is hard. It's hard coming out, going through the steps, having people who might not be okay with you, like coming out every single day of your life. Sometimes it's tough. But I would say if I could leave some advice, I would say 2 things. I would say take baby steps because there's so many changes that happen. I changed my identity so many times. Like I came out so many times, and I was able to realize all that about myself because I took the time to take baby steps. I did the research. I really let myself feel what I was feeling before making the changes. And then the second piece of advice I would leave with people is make sure you have someone you love who can help you through everything. Like, luckily, I had my friends, I had my I had my family, I had my close friends, and without them, I don't think I would have been able to do all this, because doing this alone is very difficult. So even if you might not have family that supports you, even if you have close friends who can be by your side and kind of hold your hand through it, it's super important.
Yes. So for friends and family listening, choose to be that person, right? I mean, of course, we're all learning and growing, but choose to be that person that, right, that supports and loves and appreciates. Yes. So anything you want to leave us with?
I think also everybody's experience will be different, and the challenges that Veer faced will be different to the next person. So I think Veer needs to be clear that everything that he's given you today, to this audience today, is specific to him.
Very personal. Yeah.
Yes, and it should not be taken at face value. And we're smiling today, but it's been a very hard journey for all of us, and for everybody who's related to us and connected to us. It's been hard, and but we're smiling now. So I hope that will give people courage that no matter how much sweat and tears we went through, it was so worth it.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. So, I mean, of course, we are at 1 hour and a couple minutes.
Wow, fast.
Yes. So I just want to leave everyone with this awesome episode. I hope that you learned a thing or two or maybe three. Let me know if you learned something too. Let Veer know if you learned something, because, we put a lot of effort into sharing information. I say we because I see your content, and I know that it takes time and effort to put accurate information, but also, how to tie it to your own personal experience. This is not my last episode for the year. I will be back next week, but I do want to say, just in case if I don't see you guys next week, because I don't know, you're too busy partying, which is fine. Thank you so much for supporting Sincerely Carolina. I just want to, say again, I started this show because I wanted to talk about things that I thought are important, things that I think are important. There are current and recurring issues, things that I have learned myself and gone through a process as well. I usually don't talk about things where I'm, still in the middle, and then I'll talk about it and then realize that I am somewhere still in the middle. So please do not feel afraid to listen and learn and have these conversations with other people. I hope that I was able to, share in the last 30 episodes information that have allowed you to grow and change in a positive way, even if it has made you uncomfortable or those around you uncomfortable, because that's what it feels like. And thank you. So because we have a week left for Sincerely Carolina to be done for this year, I do want to remind you that, one, I genuinely want to know what you have learned, but also I want to encourage you to tell me what you have learned, because I will have awesome prizes. Okay, so tell me, and then I'll put you in the roulette that I do every week, and then you'll win really awesome prizes. Because I also want others to know that it's okay to share that we don't know it all and that we learn through this process, okay? Thank you for supporting Sincerely Carolina. I saw some awesome viewers today that have been very loyal to my show. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you to my awesome sponsors and to Sopi Mix Studio for having this platform, and again, letting me talk about whatever I want to talk about. And I hope to see you again next week. Remember, be nice during the holiday seasons, right? Think twice if you want to make a comment. Will that comment, does it have an added value? Is it something that you want somebody to change? Saying it, will it make them change it in the next 5 minutes? If no, leave it for some other day. It's about happiness, right? Try to be joyful and see the people you want to see. Don't force yourself to see people that, you don't want to see just because it's the holidays. I think that's something that here in Aruba, we feel a lot of pressure. I don't want you to feel pressured to go visit people that haven't been kind to you, okay? And boundaries. I had an episode on boundaries. Go back to that, right? But happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I hope Santa Claus realizes that you have been nice and brings you whatever your heart desires. And again, thank you. I will see you next week. Bye.
Sincerely Carolina is powered by Lindy Boutique, Proframe, Aveeno, Gelatissimo, Paper Sisters, and Purina.